Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. There's so many different people joining us from all over. So I'm just jumping in. Good afternoon, good evening. Sorry. Just making sure that I'm on Facebook as well in our group, so we can see that everyone can hear us and see us. Okay, yay. All right. Hi, Priscilla. Beautiful. All right, I'm just going to get rid of a few things here before we start and just give it a few minutes to see if anyone else is going to join us live. I have lots of people that will be joining us for the recording later. So if you're watching the recording, welcome. Cave Creek, Arizona. Rex's Ranch, Priscilla works at. I'm just can't wait to visit your ranch one day, Priscilla, or owns Priscilla. Oh, goodness. Well, I hope the sun is shining or the moon is shining wherever you are. It's a beautiful day here. It's starting to get a little bit cooler, but absolutely stunning. And I have just been so excited all week for this masterclass and to share this with you. Because as I said in the post that I did earlier this week, I've recently started the coaching side and the mentoring side of what I'm doing outside of my businesses only in the last 6 or 7 months. And it's come about after being asked for so many years by people wanting me to coach or mentor them. And one of my limiting beliefs that I had was that I just could not do that I didn't know enough, I wasn't enough, I wasn't able to help people enough. And then something just shifted in me last year when I was working back through the program that I now teach. And it shifted in me and it just felt like the right time. And I have just thoroughly enjoyed every part of it since, and just knew at this point in time, I focus on working with women in business because that's where I really had to do my deep dive into my mindset, was when I was trying to achieve all these things in my business and it just wasn't happening. So I sat back and I thought, well, I've got to be the problem because I can see all these people around me achieving what I wanted to achieve and it wasn't happening for me. And I thought, okay, that's obviously something in me. There's something here that's not quite ready. And that's when I did my deep dive into my mindset, which is why I went straight into helping women in business. But there's so many other women that I know who are triggered by things from their past or are stuck in limiting beliefs that are holding them back from achieving, not just in business, but it's holding us back sometimes in being a great mom or a great friend or a great daughter or, expecting that life is full of joy and full of love and abundance of all of the things, not just success and money. So that's when I've really jumped in this week. I thought, okay, I need to open this up to more people. So I'm really grateful that you're here, for those of you who are on live. And I'm really grateful that you're taking the time to listen to this as a recording. And I hope that you get from today the fact that your world is limitless, that you can be and do and have absolutely anything, because we came into this world that way. And it's only what we've been through in our life up until this point that is limiting what we think is possible. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. And my intention from today is that you jump off this call and just know that you were meant for more, that you were meant for the most incredible life. And there's nothing holding you back other than the way you think and the way you feel. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And in my past masterclasses, we've shared bits and pieces here and there, but today I'm going to bring it all together for you so that at the end of this call, you have some tools, some things to do to go out today and start thinking a little differently, feeling a little bit differently, and just becoming more aware of what's driving you every single day. Okay, so I am going to share my screen for a little bit because there's just a couple of things that I think visually will help. I am certainly a very visual person and I always want to know how and I want to know why. So if someone tells me to do something, then I want to know, well, why would I do that? And how's it going to help me? So that's just me. I'm an overthinker. I'm a very detailed thinker as well. So if you happen to be like me, then I think the visual side of things will help you. But there's certainly just so much great content in here that I want to share with you too. So as I put into the post through the week, inviting you onto this call, what is mindset? I think we think of mindset as just being, thinking really positively and not letting anything keep us down for too long. But mindset actually is the filter through which we see our entire life, which we view life. And our mindset is actually determined and based on our belief system and how the world works. So what we absolutely believe to be true is how we see the world. What we look for is what we see. And those beliefs are shaped by your past experience and by experiences and by your thought patterns. So that's what mindset actually is. And yes, it's about thinking positive here and there and not letting life get you down, but mindset is a way of living every single day. How it starts is, as it says there, with your past experiences. So the way we think and the way we feel is what's going to determine what shows up in your life. And if I was to say to all of you on the call and listening to the call, if you can think for a minute, if I was to ask you, what do you absolutely believe to be true about money? What would your answer be if you think about that for a moment? So if you think, what do I believe to be absolutely true about money? Is it that it's hard to get? Is it that there's an abundance of it everywhere? Is it that it's not the most important thing in your life? Is it that it's the most important thing to me? Is it that if you have an excess of money, then it makes you a bad person, which is one of the beliefs that I uncovered when I did this program. What is your absolute core belief about money? And similarly, what is your absolute core belief? What do I absolutely believe to be true about love? Is it that you know you're worthy of a deep, deep love? Is it that you love really hard? Is it that you think it doesn't last, that it comes and goes and nothing's forever? What is your core belief? And these are the things that we can just think of on a conscious level right now. But your past experiences have shaped your belief around these things. So, whether it's around money, whether it's about love, whether it's about life, whether it's about success, whether it's about yourself, what you've been through in your past is where all of your core beliefs and the way that you think starts. So, it's your past experiences. And when from that age of 0 to 7, you'll hear this all the time, is when most of these core beliefs and most of our thought structures have started, because we come into this world, as I said, believing that everything is limitless, that we can do anything, that we can be anything, that we can have anything. We don't have any idea of if we jumped off the end of the couch, we would hurt ourselves, or, you know, that there wouldn't ever be enough food or enough love, or like everything is just limitless when we're born. And it's only once we start to experience life and when we've had things said to us that we start to form beliefs around things. So your past experiences in that early age is where it starts. Because what happens is you have an experience, and when you have a really intense feeling about that experience, you actually create a thought structure that gets deeply rooted. And I have a picture here actually that I'll show you. It gets deeply rooted in your non-conscious brain. So we're talking, okay, we're sitting here thinking at a conscious level, what do I believe to be true? But at a subconscious level, at a non-conscious level, you actually have these thought structures that are created when you have a really intense feeling that comes with an experience. So we might go through something as a child, and if you've done this sort of work, you can track back to the very first time you ever felt a certain way, whether it was unloved, unworthy, fearful, there's scarcity, there's lack. The first time you ever felt a way, then you can often go back to, if you do the work, go back to where that started. And where that started was something happened that you put a really deep meaning to. And this thought structure, so down the bottom here is this real, you'll see that it looks like a root system of a tree. This is the thought. It's an actual physical structure in your brain. This is neuroscience. This is the actual anatomy of your brain. This is what we can see when you plant that thought structure. So to give you an example, I shared through the week a story of when we uprooted our entire life and moved away to Byron Bay, which seems very idyllic to anyone that knows Australia and knows Byron Bay. And it was when I was 8. So, they say 0 to 7, but all of your childhood, your brain is so malleable. And at 8 years of age, we moved away from everything that I knew to be safe and secure. Cousins, friends, the house that we were all born in, everything that I'd ever known, holidaying by the beach, where there was always an abundance of everything in our life. And we moved away, and really hard things started to happen. For anyone that's ever moved or had anything like that happen, there's so many uncomfortable moments. And as a young child, I can recall so many different moments that had such an intense feeling behind it that they were very deeply rooted in my non-conscious brain. And they're things like turning up from our beautiful home that we'd had that my dad helped build, to then renting a house that was cockroaches everywhere, because there was just nothing available to rent when my mum and dad first moved to Byron Bay. It was a very little town then, and there was just nothing to find. And the walls kicked in. Like, it was a horrible, horrible, horrible little house that we had to rent for a few months before my mum and dad found something else. And I remember walking and thinking, I don't feel safe here. So for the first time in my entire life, my safety, I was really fearful and scared. And there was one night in particular, I remember my mum and dad brought a little shop up the road, a takeaway food shop, and someone had broken into that shop. And they raced up to figure out what was going on. It was maybe 250 meters away, so it wasn't a long way away, but I was 8 years old and left home with my younger brothers and sisters, and was so, so fearful and scared. And I had this fear implanted in me that it was like, I'm alone for the first time and so scared, and I wouldn't know what to do. There's all these little instances like this. Making friends at school when I moved away was so, so, so difficult. And when there were these groups of girls, I never had girls, I've only got boys, but girls can be really quite nasty, can't they? So when these groups of girls wouldn't accept you in as a new person in the school, I felt so unworthy, and I felt like I wasn't enough. And so that was deeply implanted in me, and I felt really difficult to make friends from that point forward. So all these little things that I can trace back to the very first time that I felt really scared, or the very first time I felt really unworthy of a friend, or there's things that happened as teenagers then. So examples of that are things like when it comes to not feeling like I'm ever enough, not feeling good enough to be a coach, not feeling enough to be a top leader in my company, not feeling pretty enough, or that came from my mum trying to keep things very humble in our house. So I remember I was walking out the back one day, and I was probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 perhaps. And I said to her, do these shorts make me look fat? My legs look fat. And she goes, well, clothes only show what you've got, Lisa. So I remember that conversation so clearly, because this feeling was there. It's like, oh my gosh, you're fat. You're not thin enough. And then I remember being chosen for a representative sport team, and I was asked to play up a few age groups, because they said, look, we think you're good enough to play up 2 ages above you, and you know a lot of the girls in that team, so we'd really love for you to play in that team. And I said, oh my God, my mum was sitting next to me. I said, I would love that. Thank you so much. And I often feel that the girls I've been playing with, they're so much younger than me. So I would love the opportunity to play, not that I use those words as a 10-year-old, but I'd really love to play with all the older girls. And we walked away, and my mum just said to me, who do you think you are? You're no better than anybody else. You're staying in your age group where you belong. Those words, who do you think you are? Ask my husband every single day. I would say them. He'll say something and go, oh, and he goes, those words, who do you think you are creeping in again, aren't they? Your mum's words are still there, and they are. It's something daily I have to work on. So it's something like that, where there's this really intense feeling that comes with an experience that gets planted as a memory, as a thought pattern in your brain. And then what happens from that? So the first thing is we have an experience. And the second thing is we create the feeling behind that. And when there's a really intense feeling, that's what creates, it implants this thought structure into our non-conscious brain. And then you'll see from that root system down the bottom, this thought structure that just keeps growing then, and it starts to grow dendrites out the top, the more focus you put on that thought pattern. So if you have an existing thought pattern that is of lack or scarcity or being fearful or being unloved or being not enough, then every day when you have another experience, you already have this existing thought pattern. And until you focus on creating a new thought pattern, it's just going to keep following the same thought pattern. See, I told you you weren't pretty enough. See, I told you you weren't strong enough. See, I told you you weren't enough to be a leader. I told you you weren't loved. I told you you were fat. All of this stuff keeps reinforcing existing thought patterns. And what this does is then forms our core beliefs. And that forms how we see ourselves and how we see the entire world. So we get to this age of being an adult and we're stuck thinking the same way, feeling the same way because of what we've been through in the past. So, like Priscilla, you've said your fulfillment is not dependent upon money. I love that because it means you have um, more than you need in a paycheck. Amazing. So, you've obviously just worked so hard to ensure that the thought pattern that you reinforce every single day is one of abundance. Can I ask if it's always been that way, though? However, when I was struggling, I wondered if and when it would end until I decided to shift my attitude. Okay, so it hasn't always been that way. So you had to make a really, really clear decision to think about money and to have a different belief about money for your reality to change. So this is where a lot of people don't go and do the work. So they get stuck looking at this reality that they've got, thinking life just happens to me, that I have no control over my life. And you often think of if someone says, here's what's possible in your future. And you think, oh yeah, but no, that's not possible for me because money is really hard to come by, or I'm not enough to do that. I could never be good enough. I could never lead people. I could never do this, because you keep going back to the existing thought structures, these physical structures in your brain that you reinforce rather than looking at, is that serving me anymore? Maybe I could become this. Maybe I could have that. Maybe I could be an amazing mum. Maybe I could be loved by someone wholeheartedly after all. But until you focus on what you currently believe, what your core beliefs are right now, and choose to change them, you're going to keep having show up in your life what you already have show up in your life. Because everything is an automatic trigger. So we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts come into our mind every single day. And on a conscious level, 10% of them are things that you consciously think about. 90% of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts on a daily basis are done automatically. So whatever you absolutely believe to be true is in automation. It just automatically happens. You could walk into your workspace and your boss has a go at you for something, just says you haven't done something properly, and automatically it reinforces that thought pattern of, I'm not good enough. You could walk into your household and maybe one of your children says something to you and disrespects you, and you think, see, I don't know how to be a good parent. I don't know how to love someone like that. It could be that you don't believe you're enough to be a certain position in your company, and you might put forward a presentation that doesn't go so well. That thought pattern is still there. Rather than looking at it as a growth opportunity and what can you learn from it, the thought pattern is automatically triggered again, going, you feel a certain way, you feel, oh, geez, I failed again. The thought pattern is triggered automatically, and it just reignites and reconfirms that belief that you're not good enough, you're not enough, you can't do this, you don't know enough, you're not smart enough. All of those thoughts are automatically triggered. This is all done automatically. And things like money, particularly, are automatic triggers. I know that through the week, one of my sons hurt himself at sport, and I caught myself go, how much is this going to cost me? And I just had to stop myself and go, it doesn't matter, because money is abundantly here. There's no worry about money. Whereas a bill will come in and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to pay that? So the kids will do something, how am I going to pay for that? Because my old way of thinking was there was never enough money. You only ever just had enough money to go around. That was my core belief, because I had watched my parents go through lack and scarcity after we moved to that beautiful idyllic town. The shop they bought wasn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. They never really recovered financially. We never owned our own home again. I heard things constantly like, money doesn't grow on trees. We'll have to wait until I get paid next week. Do you really think we can afford that? We can't afford that. And then it was the feeling that went with that, showing up to school in a pair of tracks from Kmart rather than Nike shoes, and being laughed at by the kids, and just feeling so, just not enough when that was happening, and wearing hand-me-downs, and just knowing that my mum never wanted anyone over to our home because she didn't want them to ever know that it was only a rental rather than us owning her own home. Her her feeling of not being enough just came through to us as children. We're not enough if we don't have money. So I took that into my adult life then. And every time something happened in my day, as I said, a bill would come in, the kids had hurt themselves, the mortgage was due. We didn't even have a mortgage for a long time because I didn't believe it was possible. So it just kept triggering this and confirming my belief that there's just never enough. You work really, really, really hard just to make ends meet, and there's just never enough at the end of the month. And so then you have people go, but you can be anything, you can do anything, you can earn, I can show you how to earn $20,000 or $30,000 a month and just follow me, do this. And I'm sitting there going, I can see it. I can see how that's possible for someone else. But my belief is I'm not enough and there's never enough money to go around. So I could stand in front of the mirror every day going, I am abundantly wealthy. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am a great leader. But my core belief wasn't congruent to that. So it just never happened. And this is why we get stuck in our reality, because we have these physical thought structures that are in our brain. They're physically there. And you just keep following on an automatic level. Your automatic nervous system, everything about your physical body and your brain is just following. It gets triggered by a feeling. So an experience happens, it triggers a feeling you felt before, and it goes, I know how to cope with that. We go into fear, we go into stress, we go into scarcity, we go into I'm not enough. We just keep triggering the same thing until we start to look into, what are my core beliefs? Because when you look into what you absolutely believe to be true, you'll start to catch the thoughts as they come in rather than them just being automatic. Because the other thing that happens is we have what's called a reticular activating system. And what that's doing is actually filtering the information that's coming in through your brain. So there is so much out there in our world, too much for our brain to cope with every single day, every minute of every day. So what we have is what's called a reticular activating system that's going to filter the information. So what we see, hear, smell, the information that's all around us is being filtered by our reticular activating system. Your reticular activating system, which is at the base of your brain, will only let in information that is actually going to prove your core belief to be true. So if you're trying to build this incredible business and you have a core belief that business is hard, I watched my parents go bankrupt twice. And both times they were owning their own business at the time. So when I met my husband and he already owned his own business, I remember saying to my girlfriend who set us up on a blind date, what does he do? And she said, oh, he's got his own pool building business. And I went, oh my God, no. Automatically, I felt this in my body. No, that will one day end up really badly. And I never really on a conscious level thought about it again until all of a sudden the business was going badly. We ended up losing everything. And I sat there at the end and thought, see, I told you being in business is bad. So what I saw every day then was all the bits of information was everything in the news that was telling us that the economy was downturning, that there were businesses closing down left, right, and center, that people were losing their homes. That's what my brain was letting in, reinforcing, oh my God, we're in one of those oh shit moments where we're about to lose it all. But at the same time, there was news out there of businesses that were profiting at that time and people still having the money to afford the services that we had. We were so in this space of so much stress that we had this really narrow focus of stress and lack and scarcity rather than being open to new opportunities. And because our brain was only letting in what we absolutely believed to be true, and that was that business is hard and we were about to lose it all. So you will only have let in to a conscious level what you absolutely believe to be true. If you believe that you are unworthy and unlovable, you will have that show up in your reality all around you because that's the only information your brain is letting in. If you believe that only, what else can I talk? Money is my big one, obviously. But you know what? I've been coaching someone recently who love was their big one, that they just didn't feel like they were ever going to be loved the way that they wanted to be loved. And that came from their past experiences as a child when their father just never, ever, ever, ever showed them any love. That he actually showed them the opposite to that. So he has carried his entire life this feeling of, I'm not lovable. I don't deserve it. Who would love me? So if you've got that core belief of who would love me, who would actually give me the time of the day and pour their heart and soul into me and love me when the most important people in my life couldn't do that as a child. That's the information that you're going to have let in through your reticular activating system. See, I told you no one loves you when someone doesn't return a phone call, or you might have thought someone could be more caring towards you. See, told you you weren't lovable. If someone does hurt you in a relationship, see, told you. Told you that was going to happen. What keeps showing up in our reality is showing up because our brain is filtering what's coming through. So when you sit and you think, what do I absolutely believe to be true about money, about love, about relationships, about the world, about myself? Is that supporting where you want to be? Because what we want to do today is determine that, understand why we're where we are right now, why the reality is here, and then determine anything is possible. What can we start to do to create this abundance of love, relationships, money, success, wealth, friendships, whatever it is you're craving? We want to be able to get to the end of this call today and know that it's possible. So this reticular activating system is responding to your core beliefs. Your thought patterns are responding to your core beliefs, and they're all coming from your past experiences. So we know now that, have you ever seen that the video where they say, watch the ball, and there's people passing the basketball around the room, and all of a sudden they say, did you see the I think it's a monkey, is it? Someone dressed up in a monkey suit. And you didn't notice that there was this monkey dancing in and around all of these people throwing the basketball because you'd been told to watch the basketball and maybe count how many times it's been thrown around. It's been a while since I've seen that video, but have you seen that video? If you're on the call, have you seen that video? You see what you look for. You will only see in the world what you go looking for. So this reticular activating system is controlling what's coming through, filtering what's coming through, but you also, your core belief is going to be what you're intentionally going out and looking for every day. So your thinking is connected to your core beliefs. Your thinking, your feeling, it's connected to your past experiences and the core beliefs that have come from that. There's a whole other side to this as well when it comes to creating the most incredible life, whatever that is that you want for yourself. And that is your energy and your frequency that goes with it. And I see, Priscilla, you just mentioned that money is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. When you are in a space of fear and scarcity and lack and anger and judgment and stress, the frequency that you're putting out from your body is so low. So we have a field around us and that's actually measurable in megahertz. So every single emotion that we feel has a reading that we can get that determines what the megahertz is, the energy rating that's coming out from your body when you feel a certain way. So if you've ever been near people that you just want to keep being around and you just think, oh, I just want to be in their presence. It's probably what they're saying and how they're making you feel with what they're saying, but it's also just this energy that they're giving off. I remember going to a conference and a woman was speaking on stage and she put on the headband. Remember the headband you used to get at the local show or fair? And they would have the antenna coming up with little dangly bits off the end. And she came out wearing those on stage and we're all sitting there thinking, what on earth has she got on her head? And what she was trying to explain was, you saw these dangling antenna on my headband before I even opened my mouth. And it's the same with energy. Before you even open your mouth, the energy that you put out, people will pick up on that around you. So that's the first part of it, is when you're in these really low emotional states of fear, judgment, lack, scarcity, stress, sadness, grief, all those sort of low emotions, the frequency you're putting out is really low. And people will not feel inspired to be around you. So if you're trying to attract success, attract abundance, attract friendships, attract love, then what energy are you putting out for the people to pick up on when they're in your field? But the other thing that happens when we look at energy and frequency is attracting this incredible life to you. I have not had to force anything for years now because I understand this. And I wonder if you've ever been in a place where you've been in that state of flow, where everything just seems to be going right. There's minimal thought going into it and just things are just happening all around you. And it might be that you're just meeting these incredible people and feeling loved and feeling nurtured. Or it might be that all of a sudden there's just people, the phones are ringing and there's business coming in from everywhere. It can be anything showing up in your life, but tell me if you've had a moment where it's just like, I can't stop this. This is just amazing. I'm not even trying. And my life is incredible. Everything just seems to be going right. That's when you're putting out this incredible energy to the universe. And quantum physics is matter to matter. So whatever you're putting out is what you're going to keep getting back. And what I do in the program that I have is I show you the science. We prove with quantum physics that you can physically change the material world around you with the energy and the frequency that you're putting out into your field. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But even if you just think about that proximity, like, who would want to be in my field? How am I feeling? If I walked into a sales meeting tomorrow, would someone actually want to buy what I have? If I walk into my workspace and I'm the leader tomorrow, will they want to follow me with my energy and how I show up and the way I hold myself? Energy is everything. And the frequency that we put out is determining, okay, the people that are in close proximity to us, but it's also determining that attraction rather than forcing it to happen. If you can think about what your ideal life looks like right now, and sometimes you get to a point where I just want it so badly. I know this was me in my business. I knew where I wanted to be. I knew what it was going to do for my family. It was a need. It was like, I just need to figure this out. But if you look at the body language around that, it's just this very closed and low energy state of stress and desire. Whereas if you can open that up to be, you know what, it's here already, and start to feel a certain way and act a certain way and open up to receiving that, the energy is completely different. So not only are your past experiences and your core beliefs determining what you see, what you hear, how you act, how you choose the choices you make through your day, they're determining how you feel. And how you feel is determining your frequency. And your frequency is determining that ease and flow that life can be, or that struggle and searching and stress that life can be. So your past experiences, your core beliefs, actually is where everything starts, everything. Until we go back and focus on, what do I actually believe, and where did those beliefs come from? And how is that showing up in my day right now? How is it showing up in my choices through the day, in my reactions to experiences? How are my patterns? What are the patterns that are showing up? A pattern that kept showing up for me over and over and over and over and over and over again was, you'd start to earn a little bit more money and then there still wasn't enough. I'd earn a bit more and there still wasn't enough. I'd earn a bit more and there still wasn't enough, because my core belief was there was only ever enough money just to make ends meet. That was my core belief. But at the same time, I had a core belief that love, oh my gosh, I was loved so hard by my parents, and we had a household full of love, and we were a part of a huge, big family of cousins and aunties and uncles that love was everywhere. So I never questioned love. I knew that I would find the most incredible human being to share my life with, and I found that in my husband. So love for me was not where my limiting beliefs were. So I didn't really have to go to work and change much about my belief about love. But what I had to go and change was my belief about money. What I had to go and change was my belief about myself, my worthiness. What I had to go and change was my belief about success. What did that look like? And that's a very deep level that you have to get to. Not, I can sit here right now and think, oh yeah, that's what I believe to be true about this, because I promise you, if you're not living the life that you want, the life that is your abundant, beautiful, ideal life, if you're not living that right now, there's a limiting belief there somewhere. There's something that's stopping you from believing that's possible. And as I said, we learn all the time, don't we? Affirmations, visualizations, dream boards, journaling, all the things. We learn meditation, we learn all these tools, but you could go and do every single one of those. You could use all of those tools, do all the things every single day. But until you go back and we actually look at what has made me the person that I am, what do I believe to be true, and how is that showing up in my day today? Until you go to that, You're not going to believe the affirmations, the visualizations, the vision boards. You're going to look at it and think, yeah, but. And that would be my first tip is, what do you want? If you could just suspend all disbelief for a little bit, what is it that you actually want from your life? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want more of? And if you're on live now, or if you're listening to the recording, pop in the chat. What is it that made you jump on this call? What is it that you want more of in your life? Where is the gap? Because that's the first thing we need to figure out is, what is going to make me feel joyous and fulfilled? What's going to make me get out of bed every day and enjoy my life? Because that's so possible. Is it finding a new workplace because where you're dragging yourself to every day is just so disheartening and no joy there to work at all? Is it that you have a position that you'd love to reach in your company, whether it's a CEO, manager, general manager, head of your department, whatever it is, and you're not there and you're not even striving to go there yet? There's a limiting belief there. Is it that you want better relationships with your children? Is that what's going to create just this most incredible day, this incredible life and joyous feeling? Is it a love? Is it more money? Is it more time? What is it that's going to make your day, your life, this present moment amazing? Figure that out first. And if I was to say to you, it's possible. It's possible. What's the yeah, but that comes up for you? Because that's the limiting belief. That's where you go first. What's the yeah, but? Or if you've created a vision board and you look at it, and on my vision board, and I stand in front of it every day, is Italy, because I want to be able to take Wayne and, maybe not the kids, because I don't want to do much with us anymore now they're older, but I want to be able to, for Wayne and I to go and live in Italy for 2 or 3 months. It's what I want. And so when I stand in front of that, until I went to fix my beliefs, I'd go, oh, it would be so nice. It would be so nice. And now I look at it and it's like, oh my gosh, we've got to pick a date soon. Like it's happening. I feel the joy and the knowing and the certainty that it's happening. It's happening. So the first thing is to know, what is it that you think is going to just make your day incredible? What is going to make your life abundant in every way? Friends, success, whatever it is. And then we need to go, well, what are the yeah buts that are stepping up? What are the yeah buts that are getting in the way of absolutely 100% believing that that's true? That's the second part to it, because that's what's going to lead you to where to work on first. What are the beliefs I need to go to work on first? Okay, because your reality, as I said, is, sorry, it's loud noise. Your reality is completely determined from your belief system. You can stand there all day and tell yourself, I'm wealthy, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I'm healthy, but your brain stops you and says, no, you're not. No, you're not. And that thought literally stops at the stem of your brain. But if you believe from your core, with everything in you, that it is possible, that you can do anything, we can reframe those core beliefs so that there's nothing limiting you from this point forward. And this is a work in progress. This is something you need to keep doing. So this is just the beginning for you. It's helping you understand your past experiences. You had an intense feeling behind that. It's how you created what you absolutely believe to be true about yourself and about the world. That is now determining what information gets in through your reticular activating system. The thought structures that are already there are the ones that just keep getting followed every single day with every experience that you have. It's what is determining what's showing up in your reality. But we can change that. You can absolutely change that. Could you imagine, as I said before, when we were born, we had no limits. We just came to this world completely limitless. We were just greatness when we came to this world. Could you imagine if from the moment you got here, and maybe you were lucky enough to have this, maybe you were surrounded by people who did say these things to you every day, and that would just be so much joy. Imagine if you had people around you every day saying, "You're so beautiful. You're capable of anything. You're going to be the most incredible leader one day." Oh my gosh, just imagine them just breathing belief in every way. You're so caring. You're so loved. Like every way, they were believing in you every single day. And imagine if they, the people around you who are saying these things to you, nurturing you, loving you, filling you with belief, imagine if they lived their life that way as well. Imagine if they modeled to you, there are no limits in this world. I can be anything, I can do anything, I can have anything. Imagine if they showed you that that's what normal life looked like, that that's what's possible for you. You would sit here today in front of me and say, I can do anything. What? You're saying you can't believe that you can be earning $500,000 a year? What? You're telling me that you can't find a human being that's going to love you completely for who you are? You're telling me that you don't feel like you can be a great mom? You're telling me that you don't feel like you can be surrounded by beautiful friends who love on you? Why would you believe that? I know anything's possible. I can earn whatever I want to. I can do for a living whatever I want to. I can be a leader. I can be a healer. I can be whatever I want to be because that's what I've been taught my entire life. That is where we want to get to because we've just got to find a way to let go of the limiting beliefs that have just been deeply ingrained in us. And they're not even our beliefs, they're what other people have told us. You were molded by parents, by family, by community, by friends, by experiences. You were molded to believe what you believe today. And some of it's not even true. And yet we're just in this automatic pattern every single day of something triggers us. We feel a certain way. I think a certain way because that's how I've always thought in the past. I go back into that stress mode, or I go back into that unloved mode, or I go back into that unworthy mode, or I go back into that not enough mode. It's just an automatic trigger because of what we were told by someone else as a child that maybe not even true. This is where we can do so much work to make sure that we can feel in our heart that you can do absolutely anything, whether it's money, success, love, friendships, relationships, whatever it is. So, how do we do that? How can we go from this space of being held back in life and limited by our beliefs? How can we go to knowing that we can be anything and do anything? The first one is figuring out right now what you absolutely believe to be true about those core things about yourself, about love, excuse me, about success, about money. Figure out what it is. And the practice that I teach how to do this is to just get a pen and a paper and put down at the top what I believe to be true about money is. What I believe to be true about love is on another piece of paper. What I believe to be true about the world is what, pick the world, money, success, myself, love. And just keep writing. Just keep writing. What I believe to be true about money is this, and then go again, and then go again, and then go again. I can actually show you because I've still got my folder, the pages and pages and pages that I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing and writing when I did this eight or nine years ago now. And I finally got to the bottom and I just went, oh my God, what I absolutely know to be true about money is that it's really hard to get. And you have to work really, 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 really hard just to make ends meet because of all the things I'd been told and what I'd seen modeled around me. I also believe that if you had money, you were a bad person because I know my mum was just in such a state of scarcity and lack, but she just felt like it because she didn't have money, it determined her worth. She felt completely worthless because she didn't own her own home and have an abundance of money. She didn't even see all the other things that she had that was just made her the beautiful person that she is. But I constantly heard, I remember, so, I've told you the stories about, money doesn't grow on trees. We'll have to wait until we get paid next week and all those sorts of things. But then when I did recognize someone with money, like I remember we were sitting at the traffic lights once and I said to my mum, look at that car. Like it was a beautiful, I don't know, I don't even know. It was a stunning, beautiful, expensive car. And she said, yeah, but they actually don't own that, that would be on a lease, which means that they owe a lot of money and they're probably under a heap of stress anyway. And then I remember an uncle of mine who I just adore. He's still just one of the most beautiful people in my life. And he still to this day lives in the same little tiny home in the town where he and my dad were born, and he's over 90 now. My uncle is, and the one house they've lived in their whole time. So to him, family and security and safety was everything. That was his core values. And I remember that Wayne and I had a beautiful big home up in Queensland, and my uncle came to stay with us when my dad was in a nursing home. We came to see him, and we were sitting out on the veranda, and we looked out over this beautiful big valley in Benogan behind the Gold Coast. And my uncle was sitting there, and he said, "Look, this is really nice, but Mary and I never ever really needed anything like this because family was the most important thing to us." So those little things happened my entire life. Money was bad. If you had money, you were a bad person. So that's what I finally figured out too when I got to the end of that. When it came to success, I just had that voice of my mum in there. What I believe to be true about success is it's possible for others, but not me. That was the last sentence I got to. What I believe to be true about myself is I'm a nice person and I work really hard, but people only pay me attention when there's something bad happening in my life. I don't even know where that one came from, to be totally honest. I think the only way I got attention as a child was if something bad had happened. There were little things that happened my entire life I could go back to that just proved I wasn't good enough. I burnt the potatoes one night watching TV because I was 11 and got caught up watching the goodies in the afternoon. And my job was to put dinner on every single night. And my mum walked in and the potatoes had burnt while I was busy watching TV. And she was like, "How stupid do you have to be to burn potatoes?" And so I just took that with me then. I'm stupid. I would try so hard in school and I'd come home so happy with myself with an exam and go, look what I got. I got like 85% in my maths test. And she go, "Well, what did Ben Gillespie get?" Which was the smartest kid in the class. So I got to this core belief that like, no, I'm not enough for anything. That voice in my head said, "Who do you think you are?" So get a piece of paper and start writing down what I believe to be true about money is, what I believe to be true about myself is, what I believe to be true about wealth is, what is the one thing you want more of? Start there. Because if it's love you want more of in your life, or a relationship, or time, what I believe to be true about time is you'll get to the bottom and probably think there's never enough time. Well, there's so much time. If it's love, there's never enough love. There's no one to love me. Who would love me? There's so many people who would love you if you would just love yourself. So figure out, the first step is, what is your current belief around these things? The second thing is, how is this showing up in your day, in your thought patterns, in the automation that's happening? What triggers you? Start to watch out for those things. Become more aware of your thoughts, which is something that you need to just work on to get better at, but becoming more aware of a thought, catching that moment. There's such a delay between a thought coming into your subconscious and you actually consciously getting to that point. But often what comes between is a feeling. So if you can start to take notice of the feeling and then where'd that come from, catch the thought, you can actually reframe that thought rather than following the exact same thought pattern and reinforcing an old thought pattern. So just number one is figuring out what's your core belief around these things at the moment. And number two is how is it showing up in your day? What's triggering an old thought pattern? What's a pattern that keeps showing up? Where is that limiting belief showing up in your day? And then figuring out what you actually want. What is it that you want to show up in your day? And how will that make you feel? This is the key to creating the life you want, because remember, we're talking about how a core belief, so a past experience has created a core belief and a thought pattern that is just now automatic. And it's the feeling that goes with that that is determining the frequency you're putting out to the field. And so if you can actually start to focus on how you want to feel, so what you want, but also how you want to feel, and bring that feeling into today, that's that high frequency that is going to start pulling things to you. It's going to be this attraction rather than pushing and chasing. It's going to just ease, grace, and flow and attract to you. It starts with the feeling. So at the moment, your feeling is based on your current core beliefs and your current thought patterns, and they're probably low energy the majority of the time. Whereas if we can realize what we actually want that to be, what we want our life to be, and how it will feel when we have it, and sit in that feeling for the day, that's going to increase your frequency all day long. So the first step is figure out your current core beliefs. The second step is, how is that showing up in my day, in how I'm thinking, the patterns that are in there, and my limiting beliefs showing up. And then step three is, well, how do I actually want to feel when I get what I want to get? And then we actually have to start remembering the future. And Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time, and you've probably heard it, but not really understood why he says, remember the future. Because at the moment, 90% of your day is automatically living from your memory of the past. Imagine if 90% of our day can be automatically coming from our memory of the future. It's that memory of the abundance and joy and gratitude and love, because your brain actually doesn't know if a memory is from the past or a memory is from the future. So that's what a visualization will do. If we can get a really detailed, really descriptive, detailed visualization that invokes this really strong feeling, because remember, it's the feeling that went with that past experience that embedded that thought pattern in your non-conscious brain. So if we can have this really strong feeling attached to a memory of the future and create a new thought structure that's embedded in our non-conscious brain, we can actually live automatically every day from our future rather than from our past. This is where we can change our entire reality, our entire life. We can co-create the life of our dreams. We just have to figure out, what is it that's made me who I am? What do I believe? What are the memories of the past I'm living in automatically every day? What do I want for my future? What does that look like? What is the smells, the sights, the touch, the feeling that I'm going to have in that moment? And that's where we want to start living our day. That's the high frequency that is going to just ease, grace, and flow. Everything is, you're not going to be able to stop this stuff. The reason I went to work on my mindset was to build my business, because as a family, we needed that. We had lost everything financially. So we had everything. We had our beautiful big Queenslander. Wayne had built us the most incredible wet edge pool that looked out over trees and valley. It was just stunning. We had everything. We not once sat there and looked around and thought, oh my God, look at what we have. We not once sat in this intense gratitude. It was always, well, now what could we do? And how much money could we earn if we did that? And imagine if we could go and live by the beach now. Like, there was always something, what's next? What's next? What are we going to do now? We never once stopped and sat in that really high frequency of gratitude, intense gratitude. Add to that my core belief that there's never enough money. You just have enough to make ends meet, that I'm not good enough to go and earn that sort of money. I'm not good enough to be a leader. I'm not good enough to be a general manager. Add that in. Add the fact that we started to see in the reality around us the global financial crisis happening, and our belief was that business was hard and life was hard and money was hard to get. And so what kept showing up for us was, oh my God, this business is closing down. The highest rate of mortgage foreclosures is on the Gold Coast. Like, everything in the reality seemed to confirm what we were believing on the inside. And then when we lost everything, it was like, see, told you business was hard. Told you owning your own business was always going to end badly. So then we ended up moving all the way away from our family. Wayne's children, we had to leave them behind, all of my family. We moved all the way away, still in this low, extremely low energy state, because we'd just lost everything, everything. And there were so many nights when I would just, I don't know, drink a whole bottle of wine to just get rid of the fear. And I'd have people ringing me, banks ringing me saying, I'm going to take your kids' beds from you tomorrow if you don't pay your bills. Like, that's how bad things were. It just kept compounding, the bad energy and the bad things. It just kept compounding until all of a sudden I thought, something's got to change. Something has to change. I'd created this reality because of my scarcity, my lack, my fear. I'd created the reality we were sitting in. And I was given the most incredible gift by my aunt, and it was a Wayne Dyer CD, and it was called The 10 Steps to Gratitude. And just stepping into the space of gratitude started to change my life, because it started to change my frequency. Matter to matter. If I was sitting in this constant state of stress, your whole automatic nervous system, everything, your thinking, everything's on automation, and everything just keeps triggering this state of stress, and you have just this narrow focus. There's no room for creativity. There's no room to overhear these incredible conversations and opportunity. And there's no way you could sit and think, yeah, I'm going to take on this opportunity because I know I can go and do this. It was all the opposite. It's like, well, I can't do that because then we could lose more money, and I can't give up more hours here because then we need the money. Like, oh my gosh, it was just compounding. But then when I made space for gratitude, it just started to change. I took myself to a different route to work. So rather than going down the expressway that got me to work in 50 minutes, I drove through all these beautiful horse studs and amazing hills and mountains and the most beautiful scenery. And it took me an extra 20 minutes to get to and from work every day. But I was able to drive just thinking, look at what we are surrounded by. I trained myself to be grateful for I have a car that can get me to a job. It's putting food in the fridge. It's paying the bills at the moment. My kids are healthy. We're still together as a family. That space of gratitude just started to slowly pick up my frequency. And then I started to learn about mindset and about how rather than living back here constantly and getting the same thing happening over and over again, I can create a vision of what I want my future to look like, and start living in that feeling. It's done already. You now can sit and think the gratitude for our own home again, abundance of money in the bank, never having to question, how am I going to pay that bill? Still being together as a family, the experiences we could do as holidays. We've traveled everywhere with the kids. That all came from me stopping and thinking, hang on a minute. Can I change my future? And you can. First step is figure out what got you here. What do you currently believe to be absolutely true? Second step is, how is that showing up in your day? Start to catch the thoughts, start to catch the limiting beliefs as they show up. The third thing is, what do you actually want, and how will that make you feel when you get it? Because that's where we want to stay in that feeling. And then the last part of that is, remember the future constantly. And let's start to trigger the memory of the future and the thought patterns that come with that, rather than triggering the past. And I know that that might seem really, really easy to say and hard to do. And it can be hard to do. It's a journey you go on. But I promise, whatever it is you want showing up in your future, it is absolutely possible. The first place, if you want to start somewhere, just doing something small, is stop and be in gratitude more often, please. Please, it will start to shift your mindset. It will start to shift your frequency, and more good things will start to show up. You'll never, ever, ever find someone who is achieving amazing things that don't stop and just look around and almost bring themselves to tears every day going, look at what we've done. Look at what we have. Look at the people I have in my life. It can bring you to tears if you do this properly. And that heart space, it's dropping into that heart space and truly feeling that gratitude that is the highest frequency you can possibly put out there, to matter, to make sure we keep getting more of that back. You'll never, ever, ever meet a wealthy person who has core beliefs that there's lack and scarcity in this world. You'll never, ever, ever meet an incredible leader that has core beliefs that they're not enough. You cannot create the future you want as the person you are today. You need to go to work on what you absolutely believe to be true about you and about this world, and live in the future. Remember the future. So start, if you want to do this on your own, start with gratitude. If you're ready to do a really deep dive, this is what my 8-week program is. It's hard, this stuff, and it's easier to do, and you stay accountable to when you're staying accountable to someone, you get the work done. This is work. This is work. So over 8 weeks, we really go deep dive back to your whole life story. What has made you the person that you are? And what is the result of those past experiences? What are these core beliefs and these values that you now have? How is that showing up in your thought patterns? How does that show up? We work through all of this together. And then we start to have a look, tell me how quantum physics works. Tell me how I can attract this incredible life to me. Tell me how I can think a different way, act a certain way, so I feel a different way, so that everything just comes with ease, grace, and flow. That's what this 8-week program is about. So if you're doing this on your own, start with gratitude. If you're ready to really, really, really change your life, jump into this 8-week program, because it's a total shift method that I use, total shift in the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you look at life. So I hope today you now understand you are exactly where you're meant to be right now, and you have created the life that you live right now. And that may be hard to hear for some people, or it might be great to hear because you're doing really well. But there is a way to move forward and create whatever that you want to create from your life. So thank you. Thank you for joining me. Share with as many people as you possibly can. Invite them into the group. This is not just for women in business. This is for all women. Success looks different for everyone. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, want women to know you can create whatever you want. You can be, do, and have whatever you want in your life. And it starts today. Stop right now, be grateful, and then go to work on your core beliefs. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.